Let's talk about problem number 27 on page 513. I always kind of like this problem. In a comparative study, people were sampled in several different European countries on a wide variety of issues. One of the questions asked was, altogether, you made how many holiday trips, each lasting 4 days or more, in 1985? Okay. And then it says the mean number of trips for Denmark was 1.06. For France was 1.11, so 1.06 for Denmark. For France, it was 1.11. And then for Ireland, it was 0.81. 0.81. And for Portugal was 0.41. Alright, so these are little vacation trips of 4 days duration or longer. An analysis of variance to see if these means are significantly different gives F equal to 85.77. Is that right? Yeah. On 3, so the numerator, degrees of freedom, was 3, and the denominator, degrees of freedom, was huge, 4,019. And P was less than 0.001. 0001. Okay. What do the results tell you about the differences in number of vacation trips people in different countries took? Well, I would say it's significantly different. We have four categories, 4 countries: Denmark, France, and Ireland, and Portugal. And so that's where we got 3 degrees of freedom for the numerator. They looked at, they talked to 4,020 people. So N was 4,020 because the denominator degrees of freedom. No, I got that wrong, don't I? 4,023. Alright, let me explain that if you don't see it, because I goofed it up here. We'll get that right. The sample size was 4,023 people. So when we add the numerator and denominator degrees of freedom, we get the total degrees of freedom, which is 4,022. Sample size would be 1 more. So 4,023 people. That's a very large sample. With a sample of over 4,000, you would expect the results you get to be rather decisive in the statistical sense. And so now looking at these numbers, it looks like, well, there's quite a difference between Portugal and France. I expect that, yeah, there really is a difference between the countries on number of vacation trips taken. And we expect to see that because the sample size is very large. Very, very large sample. So you get decisive results with large samples most of the time. P-value was less than 0.0001, okay, which means that there was a hypothesis test and we rejected null hypothesis, which means that there is a significant relationship between the countries and the number of vacation trips taken. In other words, there are significant differences among those countries. So, what do the results tell you about the differences in numbers of vacation trips people in different countries took? It's significant because of the p-value. Part B, what else might you want to know about these data to better understand the differences in numbers of vacation trips? Well, how consistent are these numbers? That'd be a question I would ask. Show me the standard deviations, in your measurements. In other words, does this number vary a lot, or is it pretty consistent? In other words, you have a lot of people taking no trips and a lot of people taking 5 or 6 trips. Who knows? So there's a consistency factor that could be measured by looking at standard deviations for each of the country. And what else would you might want to know? understand the differences, the number of vacation trips. Well, how far do they have to go to take a vacation? You know, how far are they traveling? Do the people of France stay in France? Or the people in Denmark, do they have to drive to some other country to take a vacation trip? Or you might think, well, hey, Portugal. Maybe Portuguese is the only, is its own language, and I don't know if Portuguese people understand Spanish very well. They probably understand quite a bit of it, but maybe Portuguese people don't like to travel outside the country because of language differences. So maybe they don't take as many trips. Yeah, there might be more people speaking English. Ireland generally speaks, for the most part, English, and I think, and so they could travel to probably Scotland and Britain, England, and take trips there. So I don't know. There might be economies to look at. There's a lot of questions we could throw out on Part B. You know, how much can people afford as far as taking trips, things like that. So anyway, that's about what I can think of for that problem.